Hi, welcome back to the Datasphere learning series. In today's session, we're going to talk about currency and unit conversion in Datasphere application. For this demo, I'm going to use S/4HANA as a source system, Datasphere, and SAP Analytics Cloud or SAC as a reporting application. In S/4HANA, I've got transactional data sets, finance, sales, or purchasing, and I also have currency exchange rate tables and unit conversion tables stored. And I can integrate this data into Datasphere application using replication flows or data flows depending on the type of data. And then after that, in the modeling part, I'm going to create graphical or SQL views on top of transactional data sets in Datasphere system. And while I'm creating the conversion columns for transactional data set, I'm going to refer to the currency and unit conversion tables or views to get the conversion done. And after that, I can create analytical model, and this can use the graphical or SQL views as the sources, which are having fact, semantic, and able. And then I can even prepare the currency and unit conversion directly in analytics model as well. So currency conversion can happen either in the graphical view, SQL view level, or it could happen directly in analytic model as well. And then finally, we have SAP Analytics Cloud SAC to consume the analytic models and do the reporting in SAC for different alternate unit of measures as well as different currencies for financial reporting purpose. So that is going to be the use case that we will discuss today. And then I also prepared this document. You can download this document from the link that is available in the description of this session. And you can use this document as a reference to do the exercise. So we'll start with preparation of currency and exchange rate tables. As I said already, the exchange rate tables are going to be T-cur tables, and these tables are available in S/4HANA system, and we're going to load this data from S/4HANA to Datasphere. We can also get this T-cur table or exchange rate information from BW4 HANA system, but in this particular use case, we are planning to do it from S/4HANA source system. For that, we will be using data flows that are generated by system automatically when we generate currency view in Datasphere application. So that's going to be the preparation, and we're going to do that as the first step before we start with the exercise. So I'm going to access my Datasphere application, and I will prepare a folder to put these objects in to separate from others. I'm going to call this as conversions, and this is going to be in my data builder IT central space that I'm using for all my developments. My folder has been created. I'm going to access my folder. It's called conversion. It's on the top. I can open it and then start creating the required objects here. So first I will require all the exchange rate tables information. I'm going to put that in a subfolder. So let me create another subfolder here inside the conversion. I'll say conversions exchange rate tables. Okay, this is going to be my subfolder, and inside the subfolder I will generate. Yeah, I'm in the subfolder. Now I start preparing currency conversion views. You can do it from data builder here as I shown. So you're going to choose a source. As I said, I'm going to choose S/4HANA instead of manual, and I have only S/4HANA source system connected. I'm going to use this connection, and as soon as I've chosen S/4HANA as the source system, the data flows are enabled. You can see all the data flows from S/4HANA source system. These are the technical names for the tables that are going to get generated. And I also have views generated on top of the tables that we just saw above. So I'm going to collapse this one and then say create. So this is going to be generating tables and views in Datasphere application. If you are doing this for the first time, it is going to generate and put these tables and views there. If you already done this exercise before in somewhere else, it is going to bring all those objects into this particular folder as part of your activity. So just note that whenever you do this activity, make sure it's already done, then use that particular reference, or if you wanted to get this objects saved or stored in your particular folder, you can do so. So I wanted to get these tables or views to be available in Exchange Rates subfolders. So I'm doing this. So it's going to take a few seconds, and then once it is been done, we can access them. So this is done. Now you can see all the tables and views required for currency conversion available here. There are 24 objects that are required. This has been uploaded. This has been uploaded to your subfolder just now. And then the next step is to get the data loaded to these tables from S/4HANA source system. As I said, we can we can have these data flows triggered to get the data loaded from S/4HANA system. For example, currency conversion factor. This is a data flow. I'm going to open one of the data flows, and then you can see the source object for currency conversion factors. It must be a CDS view in S/4HANA, standard CDS view. So because you are just going with the standard conversion activity. And yeah, as I said, this is the source system CDS view for exchange rate information, and you got the target object here. So just need to do is run this data flow. You get the data loaded into the currency exchange tables in Datasphere. So I don't have to do it. I already did this one, so the data is already available. I can check that by going into the data preview. So if you're doing it for the first time, you do it. I'm going to skip this data loading part. So data is being updated to the Datasphere local tables for currency conversion. And the next step is to prepare the transactional data sets. In this case, I'm going to prepare my transactional data set directly as a local table in Datasphere. In a general use case, you get it from S/4HANA source system, but that's totally fine. To demonstrate this particular example, I'm going to have my transactional data sets prepared as directly in the Datasphere application loaded from HANA Cloud Source System. So I'm going to close this one, and then my source system for this particular scenario is HANA Cloud. So I prepared a couple of tables, one for currency conversion and another one for unit conversion. We'll start with currency conversion here. So this currency conversion table has got few columns, and then I inserted few records into this table, and then I'm going to display this data. I'm going to show you the data available in this. Okay, now I'm going to check the data in this table. So let's say select star and do the data preview. You can see the inserted data in this table. Now I will load this data into a Datasphere application as a local table. So which I already did this, so you can do so. This is going to be a simple exercise, so I'm going to skip this as well. So assume that data is being loaded from the currency conversion table from HANA source system into Datasphere application local table. This has been done. So once I have a transactional local table, and I also have exchange rate tables available in my Datasphere application, and then I start creating graphical views. That's going to be your exercise, real exercise. So this can be a preparation to have the transactional data set and the exchange rate tables information loaded to Datasphere. So that's been completed. Now the second step is to go and create exchange rate views or columns, currency conversion columns. That's going to be a graphical view to start with. This is going to be my first exercise that I will be doing in for currency conversions. I'm in the conversions folder, or say a graphical view. Okay, and that's going to be the window for graphical view. I'm going to bring the source table. That's going to be, I already loaded this source table, so you can find it in the currency conversion folder, which was already loaded before in advance. So this is the table, LT conversion table. So I'm going to bring this to the graphical view window, and I can see all the possible options for transformation. I'm going to have an FX calculated column because I'm going to generate something that is not currently in the source table. In the FX, I will create a currency conversion column. So it's going to be plus, and you can see two options: calculated column and currency conversion column. This is an explicit currency conversion column available for graphical for you to do a currency conversion in graphical views. I'm going to choose this one for to start with. Then give it a name. You can say invoice amount. I will say target. This is going to be your amount in target currency. So I'm going to leave this as target and prepare the data type decimal. Fine. I can reduce the precision if I wanted, just not. And then I have um, source amount column. This is going to be your source column from the table. Invoice amount is my source column. I also have source currency defined. So let's take a look at the table data first before we set the source currency, target currency columns. I'm going to switch off the details for a moment. And anyway, this is what we just inserted the data in the source table as a preparation step. So you can see there are invoice date where invoice actually posted, and you also have currency column as a transactional currency that is recorded as part of transactional transaction itself. Got the amount. So amount is recorded in transactional currency. So we're going to display this entire amount in the target currency that is chosen by user. So that's the expectation. And then coming back to the FX, I'll go to the details. I'm going to switch off the data preview. It's not necessary. And in the exchange rate, in the currency conversion column, I'm going to choose source currency. This time I can pick from columns because I know that the unit currency is going to be a currency key. That's part of transaction. And then the next option is going to be target currency. Either you can choose a fixed currency or you can choose to have an input parameter. So I'm going to start with an input parameter. Currently, I don't have input parameter, so I'll create an input parameter first and then come back and choose input parameter. Until then, I'm going to choose fixed values, come back, and for the fixed value, can just give USD as the value. That's going to be it. And then reference date, you have multiple options to choose the reference date. And this is important because the exchange rate could be available for multiple dates, and you wanted to apply the exchange rate on a certain day according to the posting date, or it could be a current exchange rate, or it could be a day in the past where you wanted to apply the exchange rate for that particular transaction. So to start with, we're going to apply the exchange rate from the day when the record is originally posted. So choose the columns and pick the column where the invoice date is used as the exchange reference date. So now the exchange rates table will be looked upon for the date that is very identical or close to this particular date. So client 00, that's where my exchange rates are available. And then conversion type, I'm going to use M, that's the available data in my test system. So I'm going to use M as the conversion type. And then that's all I have to give. And you can see all the advanced properties, the exchange rate views that are generated just before as part of preparation, selected automatically. I don't have to do anything when I selected the create new conversion measure. All done. My conversion measure is being created, and that's it. I'm going to save it and test the data. For saving, I will give a name. I'm going to say GV currency exchange or translation. Um, that's going to be the name of the graphical view, and this has been completed. And then next step is to deploy. Okay, this is being deployed now. So I'm going to test this by checking the data at the graphical view. So switch off the details and then click on the final node and then do the data preview. This is the button. Okay, now you can see the CAD is being translated into USD as I chosen USD as the fixed currency for as a target. You can see the data for 3000 is being represented or translated as $2005. And also for this record and as well as this euro record also get translated it to USD. So I've got more precision. I can round this In the calculation part, I can go to the calculation part and do a rounding to that. So I can add another step to do the rounding. Currently, I have just convert step. I'm going to add rounding step as well. So pick the target currency conversion column and then choose to have add another step, which is going to be round. So it's going to do the rounding. So say round. That's it, and then save it. Can turn off the details and then go back to the FX node and do the data preview. Now you can see the target currency is rounded to two decimals. Okay, that is about the exercise one, where you are creating a conversion measure and referencing to the currency exchange rate objects for your transactional data set. I also have another option here. So in the same place, what I can do, I can create a new calculated column instead of new conversion column. So for that, I'm going to go back one step to the columns and then start creating plus calculated column. And this is going to go do the same thing by creating a HANA SQL function to do the currency conversion. So I'm going to give it a name saying invoice amount. It's going to be INV amount. This is HANA function. So I'm going to use this as HANA as the name to differentiate from the previous calculated column. So the data type is going to be decimal, and then we'll have it precision and scale too. That's fine. And then expression. So here I get more space by expanding this one. I got a function to find, which is going to be convert. I got two functions. One is for currency and then for unit. So I'm going to pick this one. And then for the syntax for convert currency is pretty simple. You got find in the help documentation, or I already prepared in advance. So I'm going to use this function parameter values. Um, and by the way, you also have these files that are available in the description of this session. You can download it and prepare for your exercise. So I'm going to choose these columns and then paste it there. That's all what you need to do. So we can go through these parameters to understand. One is the amount. So amount is going to be your source column, and my source column is inv underscore amt, and the steps round and convert. And I've given all the other columns as according to what I have given in the graphical calculation for currency conversion. No changes, anything so far. So I'm going to validate it. It is valid, and I can close this and come back to the um, column properties to see if I have to do anything else. So all good. It's validated, so I can go back to the FX and then test the data for this particular newly created column. So I'm going to switch off the details and then start doing refresh. So I got a newly created column that says invoice amount HANA using function. You can see that this is exactly same as what you have got for currency conversion measure created graphically, not using HANA SQL function in the formula. So which is good. So I have completed creating currency conversion in graphical view by using conversion measure option and also creating a new calculated column using SQL function of HANA. I can also create an input parameter and then use it as a user's choice to represent the data for the expected currency. I can do that when I'm showing you the example in an analytic model. So similarly, what I've done in a graphical view, I can also do it in SQL view. So we can do that in a SQL view. So I'm going to say just deploy this one, save this one, and move on to the SQL view creation process. Okay, now I'm going to create a new SQL view. So here, SQL view, the syntax is going to be simple because I already have the formula created for conversion. So I'm going to use the same formula again and in the SQL view because just this is a SQL function that I've used to generate a currency conversion column. So I can simply go and pick the syntax of select statement. It's actually you can type in as well, but just it's going to be exactly same as what you just did it in the graphical view, other than selecting few columns on the top, and then from there it's a convert currency function, and with all these parameters that we just gave it in the graphical view, there's no change. And then at the end, it's going to be from the table that we have. So it's a pretty simple select statement and standard query. All good. Is there any error? Yeah. So validate it, and then it's going to generate the columns required based on the select statement that you have it in SQL. SQL is valid, and then you got generated, and the error is gone. So now I can give it a name and say SQL currency conversion. Okay, and that's going to be saving and then deploying it. So with that, what we're going to do, the currency conversion in SQL view is being completed. We can test it by displaying the data. So I'm going to save it and do the data display or data preview. So with that, we completed the exercise 2 as well in the documentation as mentioned. So we're going to take a look at the data preview just to confirm on the same. The new SQL view has been created, and you can do the data preview right there. Okay, let's take a look at. I'm going to switch on the details. The newly created column is what? INV USD, and this has been created and calculated correctly. You can check the exchange rates available on these dates. They are taken up appropriately and converted this invoice amount from 200 or 2000 CAD to the appropriate USD amount. Okay, well, that is the topic for currency conversion in SQL view. And then the final one to show a currency conversion directly in analytic model as well. So I'm going to show that by going to generate a new one. So before we generate an analytic model, I need to have a graphical view or table that has fact as a semantic selected and also have a measure in it. And then on this measure has to have a currency conversion semantic associated amount with currency. And then you should reference to a currency key as the unit characteristic. So for that, I'm going to generate or create another graphical view, or I can even use the existing graphical view to be used as the source for my analytic model. So in this example, I'm using my existing or newly or recently created graphical view as the source for analytic model. So I'm going to make some adjustments here. The first adjustment is going to be making the semantics change from relational to fact. We'll be doing it here. Select the object and then click on the details. Semantic usage, change to fact. As soon as you change it to fact, you will have to select a measure. So I'm going to say invoice amount, change to measure. And also, the next immediate step that I have to do is select the currency key and update the semantic to have it as currency code. And once you do that, go back to the invoice amount and then update the semantic for this as well. This is going to be semantic type, amount with currency, and then unit column. I have to select the currency key column as which is the currency key unit key selected just before. Say close this one and save it and then deploy it. So this can be used as a source for my analytic model because it fulfills the prerequisite to have a measure and right semantics associated for that. Save it. It's not just saving because I'm going to use it in a model. So I'm going to really deploy this as well. The deployment is being started. As soon as it is deployed, I'm going to put this in analytic model. Deployment has been completed. I can close it and then create a model. I'm going to create in the same folder. Say this time it is going to be analytic model. Okay, this is the window for creating a new model. So I'm going to pick or choose my source view. Think I've got this one, GV, currency transactions. And I don't have any associated dimensions, so it's going to be just attributes and measures, so it's going to be fine. Okay, and I can adjust the properties for this to create a newly uh, calculation for currency conversion. So do the details. Um, so this is the measures. I can have new created conversion measure as well as calculated measure. So I'm going to start with conversion measure. So this is going to be a currency conversion measure that's you can refer to. Source measure, you can select from the existing source measures from the graphical view. So I got only invoice amount to be used, and then uh, I'm going to modify or I'm going to configure the properties for this column. So the target currency will be input parameter. So I'm going to choose input parameter instead of a fixed value. So this time I'm going to pick variable. Since I don't have an existing source variable, I'm going to create one variable here. I will call it as IP variable for currency and then say select. So IP currency is being selected as a target currency and a variable is also created for with input value enable. And reference date, as I said, I can choose fixed date, but I wanted to use the date from the dimension, and it has a date dimension column available, which is invoice date. I'm going to select that as well. Exchange rate type, as I did before, it's going to be M. Look for M and select it, and then say OK. And then the rest of advanced properties taken care automatically, so I don't have to do anything. I just give the name there. So I'm going to say AMT in analytic model. I would call target currency because I don't know what target currency this is going to be. So all this is going to be done and save it and deploy it. For testing the data, I don't have to deploy it. I can just save it and do the data preview. I'll call this as AN for currency. I'm going to call this as AN currency translation. That's the name I'm giving it for an analytic model. It's saved. I can go to the data preview. So it's going to prompt me for choosing the currency this time because I have used input parameter or variable. So I'm going to say USD, or this time instead of USD, I'm going to put CAD for this one. Set this parameter value. Um, I'm going to put the company code as well in the rows so that I can get all the currencies available to display properly. So you can see there are three companies and each company has the currency value associated. 5,000, 6,000 euros and 3,000 USD, and they all converted into CAD according to the. I don't have a a semantic for newly created column, so that's why I don't have the, the currency associated to show, but it's all in CAD, so you can see this is the chosen currency CAD. Okay, so we can conclude that this is working too. So in this way, the next step is to consume this in Analytics Cloud application. I'm going to switch to SAC application to see this is working fine. Okay, I've got my SAC open here, and I'm going to create a simple story on the Datasphere live analytic model connection. So this is going to be say, okay, cancel it. I can go to a folder, a specific folder where, or I can choose to put it in anywhere. It's just for the testing, that's fine. Um, put it in public, currency conversion, and we'll create a new story. Since I don't have to create a model for DSP live connection, I can directly create a story on top of analytic model. Okay, I can insert a table here and choose existing model, select other model, and pick the oh, pick the DSP live connection. It's going to connect me to Datasphere live connectivity, which is established in advance. So I'm going to choose my space and folder. Conversions is my folder, and then I'm going to get to the Exchange. Oh, I can't see my analytic model. The reason behind it is I saved it for data preview, but I didn't deploy this one. So I'm going to deploy this one to get this analytic model shown in the SAC application. I'm just going to give a few seconds. It's getting deployed and it's deployed. Now I come back to the new story and click somewhere else and go back to the DSV Live and click on this one, IT Central, and then conversion folder. Now if I can come and I can see the newly created analytic model. For data display, it is going to prompt me to choose the input parameter because input parameters are consumed or shown in SAC as well. So I'm going to say cat for this, say set. And also I will turn on the details pane so that I can adjust the rows and respect to data display options. So in the rows, I will keep um, company code as well. And measures, this is the newly created calculated measure. I can also have existing source measure so that I can compare the source value versus the target value. But that's totally fine. So just it's in the filter, so you can add it if you want it. So that's the source one. So this way, I can conclude that we have successfully created analytic model with currency conversion in it. Oh, if you wanted to do a calculated column, you can do so by creating a new calculated column and also input the HANA conversion function in there, and then it will do the same as what we have done in graphical view. So both options should be fine. So I mean to say, and in analytical model also, you have the option to do uh, both, like having a calculated measure as well as conversion measure. Both options work fine. So with that, I conclude currency conversion part in graphical and SQL and analytical model use cases. In the next part, we're going to talk about unit conversion in all these objects again. See you in the next session. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.